Hello, this is the Monday. It's the second day, the second day only. I just wanted to share with you guys our journey on finding Harper Dori. Nick and I found out shortly after we were married that it would be difficult for us to bring children into this world. And thus began a really long journey of infertility treatments. And I wanted to make this video because it's a difficult subject, and I never want anyone to suffer alone if they've gone through something like this, because I've been super blessed to have angels in my life, friends in my life, who have really carried me through this journey because they also had gone through something similar. I feel really, really tired, like exhausted. It's weird. Like my body aches because I'm so tired. And I have felt like emotional, like I cry easy. It would be painful when I would see pregnancy announcements or someone in my family became pregnant where it was something I wanted so badly and just couldn't quite get that miracle. And I went through all of the steps of grief. I went through being angry, to accepting, to mourning the loss of the children I would never have, and finally came to a point where I could just cope, and I was happy for people when they got pregnant, genuinely, and I was able to finally get past all of those feelings that I'm sure if you've ever been through something like this, you've felt too. And I just wanted to share that journey. We went through 6 rounds of Clomid and Femara, these medications that just like wreak havoc on your body, with no results. Ended up having to go into surgery and having cysts ruptured because some of the medication really hurt me, and then we moved on to IUI and had 4 failed IUIs. I can't tell you how many pregnancy tests I'd taken that were negative. It would always be hard when people say, oh, just, stop trying and it'll happen, or, whatever people say to try and comfort you, and I would just be so upset, like, that's not what I want to hear and not what I need to hear. And honestly, I've been able to have a lot of wonderful experiences through this trial, both with talking with people who have equally been through it and trying to become closer to God, and believing that it was in His hands and that He loved me, and I always felt like it would eventually be okay. We entered this whole crazy like COVID-ness, and out of nowhere I just felt like we should do IVF and start the IVF process, which we weren't going to do because we were going to wait until our insurance would cover it, and it was only less than a year away, and for a lot of different reasons we were going to wait. And so to have this feeling in the middle of a pandemic is like crazy. And so we followed through and started our IVF journey, and it was crazy because we had to go into the fertility clinic and we had to sign away our lives in these contracts that say if you even develop a sniffle, like, we cancel everything, no reimbursement. And if any of you have looked into IVF, it's not cheap. And so it took a lot of faith, really, to take this step when it didn't really make sense to do this. So it really was, for Nick and I, a moment of like faith into action, and did we really believe that we had this feeling, and that what are we willing to sacrifice what kind of effort are we really willing to do to have a child? So we started that journey, and it took a little longer than we thought. It was, when we started IVF, you start with this like egg retrieval surgery where you have to just like give yourself, I was giving myself 4 shots a day in my tummy on top of oral medications, and it wasn't working and my body wasn't responding. And so I ended up having to go a lot longer than normal on this part of the journey, and it was really trying because every part of my body was swelling and I couldn't move, and I was couch ridden, which, if you know me, like to banish me to the couch where I can't move was just utterly, it was just something I had to learn how to cope with, and it was hard. And so finally, after going on the maximum amount of dosage they could possibly give and the maximum amount of shots and having them a lot longer than normal, we finally started to see a response in my body, and we were able to have surgery. And from that surgery, we were able to successfully have 12 healthy eggs. And we had to go a little bit deeper into the process and do a process called ICSI and genetic testing. And after all of that, we only ended up with 4 healthy embryo babies, our ember babies. And so it was a lot of work, but it was a light at the end of the tunnel to think that these cute little babies frozen in a tube in Pleasant Grove were like potentially our potential future children. We rested for a little bit and allowed my body to heal, and we finally started another round of shots and oral medication to prepare to transfer that frozen baby into my tummy. And 10 minutes before we got to the facility, we were given a phone call that the healthiest and strongest embryo we had did not survive the thaw. And it was so scary because it just took so much effort to get those embryos there, and to have the strongest fail the thawing process really frightened us. And even amidst that fear, it quickly changed. I keep looking up at Nick because he's right here, so he's like with us. But it quickly changed into, you know what? Like, everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. My kids will tell you, the kids I teach at the studio, everyone that knows me would tell you, I always say, everything happens for a reason. And in that moment, I had to practice what I preach, and we had to just say, everything happens for a reason, and we're just gonna keep continuing and pray that the next one they thaw is gonna work. And so we did. We went through another one, and it was successfully thawed, and we did the transfer. And then it's more shots, more medication, more bed rest, in hopes that embryo would attach. And I just wanted to preface this by saying that infertility and having to go through wanting a child so badly and not being able to have one, and having negative test after negative test is so hard. And I feel you. And if you have ever gone through this or are going through this, we feel you and see you and are there for you and mourn with you and rejoice with you, and we just see you. and it's just a hard thing, and I just want to say that, and that honestly, if I didn't have Chelsea and a bunch of other friends that were really just there for me, I couldn't have done it. And I'm making this video because if you are suffering from that, or the loneliness that you feel going through that you know that I'm here for you, and I can be the same friend to you that so many angelic people were for me. And there's power in telling people what you're going through, because then there's so many prayers, and we have felt so many prayers on our behalf, right, Nick? He says yes. The awaited day of seeing if that little baby, you know, decided to stay in my tummy came, and it was the most exciting news ever, and Nick and I are just super excited to say that we are pregnant and that it finally happened for us. And we are so excited to welcome our darling baby girl, Harper Dori, into this world. And finding Harper Dori was really hard, and the journey was hard, but we're so grateful that she is going to be a part of our lives. And she's named after my beautiful grandmother, who is in heaven, and her name was Doris, and my grandpap lovingly called her Dori. And I have felt, like I said, prayers and angels and help from the other side, and my grandmother was a big part of that comfort, and I really felt her close and near, and felt like we needed to name this baby after her because of that strong connection we felt. And we couldn't be more excited and happy, and just wanted to share that wonderful news today amidst a world where happy news is hard to come by, and hope it lifts your spirits. And we still live in a time where miracles happen and prayers are answered, and we just wanted to shout it from the rooftops that we're grateful for the trial. We're grateful for all that we went through, because it just made this moment so beautiful. It's hard because Nick's always behind the camera, but he's here too.
We're so happy to have this new baby in our lives, and we're excited she'll be here soon in April. And it's been such a huge miracle, such a huge blessing. I'm so grateful that Darla has put herself through all this craziness so that we could have a baby, because it's that important to her and it's that important to us.